What's up everyone, it's Wavix the Worm back with another video. After the Golden was verified a few years ago, Avernus was later announced as an antagonistic sequel, while Amethyst started to gain popularity as another upcoming top 1 extreme demon inspired by the Golden. It should be noted that neither of these are meant to be direct sequels to the Golden, but given that both of them have very similar structure to the former top 1, I think it plays a pretty significant role in both levels. However, that's kinda where the similarities end. While neither of them are technically sequels to the Golden, they certainly seem to be given that both levels are indeed inspired by it, and therefore take on a very similar shape. However, both levels veer in completely different directions from each other, and from the original, in terms of decoration and theming. Today, I will explain why Amethyst has been better executed than Avernus, and how the differences between the two make Amethyst a better level overall, and better at taking inspiration from a well-established level, while still being creative in its own way. I'm mostly distinguishing the two based off overall quality and how well they can creatively take inspiration from another level while still doing its own thing. Comment down below if you agree or not, and why, and while you're down there, feel free to like and subscribe to see more. Towards the beginning of its history, Avernus was mostly known as the official sequel to the Golden, despite it technically being an antagonist. Now, listen, I can sit here all day and explain the differences between a sequel, antagonist, prequel, spiritual successor, remake, sequel, grandfather level, inbred, stepsister, child level, or whatever BS geometry cinematic multiverse you can think of. But if the level has the same host and overall structure as the previous level, as well as the previous level's name in the title, it's probably going to be considered some sort of sequel by the general public. Regardless, Avernus clearly takes inspiration from the Golden in one way or another, even if that wasn't necessarily the effect it had in its later stages of development. The idea of having an antagonist level is a good one, especially considering that the Golden itself is a sequel to Eldorado. Avernus has very similar gameplay most of the time, but very different decoration. This is also what Amethyst does, with similarly structured gameplay for most of the level, but just like Avernus, the decoration and theming are completely different. While I don't like the gameplay in Avernus and how it's structured, in terms of taking inspiration from the Golden while also having some originality, it succeeds from that point of view as an antagonist level, because the song is completely different than the Golden, but it still works. If you try to hold it as a sequel to the Golden, it completely falls apart though. That being said, I think the Amethyst has better gameplay, and here's why. Sync. Amethyst's gameplay is much more consistent in its sync throughout the song, whereas some parts of Avernus sync to the song while others do not. I go more in depth about this on my full review of Avernus, but essentially this makes Amethyst's gameplay seem more cohesive. Amethyst has Golden-inspired gameplay while doing its own thing, and it's more synced. However, the actual differences start to show in the decoration and theming of both levels. Both levels have completely different themes from the Golden, which I think is absolutely a good thing. This means that both the levels have originality in that sense, and neither of them is just copying from the Golden. Amethyst is themed around exploring an Avernus-filled Amethyst is themed around exploring an amethyst-filled cave, which in some ways is mirroring the theme of exploration in the Golden, when Avernus is hell-themed, or more like dragon and fire-themed, okay, basically just themed around the song Dark Dragon Fire, except a decent amount of the parts in the level don't actually reflect the theme that well, so it's like Dark Dragon Fire, but bad. So like, bad Dragon Fire. Wait, shit, no. Now overall, I think Amethyst has a much better and much more original theme than Avernus does, not just because Avernus is hell-themed or hell-themed adjacent, but it is literally just themed after the song at this point, whereas Amethyst has its own more unique theme that isn't just taking the song title and using that as a theme. Overall, Amethyst has a more original theme with more thought put into it. In addition to this, Amethyst overall just has better decoration quality, and while it's harder to compare decoration between two levels with completely different themes, it's not hard to see how the execution of the level affected the quality, in both cases, and that is where the two levels really differ. In the execution. Both of these levels would ultimately be really interesting concepts. Sure, Avernus may be overall less interesting to some people, but the main reason Amethyst succeeds where Avernus fails is in the execution. Avernus was most likely somewhat rushed as the interest in the level had sharply declined and the original hosts were no longer involved in the project. On top of this, the newer parts in the level simply don't match the style and have generally lower quality decoration compared to the older parts, which generally just makes the level seem like it was rushed, and even if it wasn't rushed, the newer parts still don't reach the same level of quality, regardless of how much time was spent on them. With the level's recent verification, this has been pointed out by many people, and while the host has been keeping up with responding to the criticism, it doesn't seem like the level is going to change. If it did, I did sort of explain how you could fix it in my previous video on Avernus, but I think the main problem mostly lies in the quality and inconsistency with the decoration. Meanwhile, Amethyst has been in the decoration process for a long time as well, and Mist, who is the host of the level, has been paying careful attention to ensure that each part is the best that it can be. It has become so much more than a Golden-inspired upcoming top 1, it's a passion project. I think this is probably similar to why Cosmos is so well liked. The decoration has effort and lots of thought put into it, and the level has become something much more than the original, although Amethyst had more original gameplay to begin with, which is even better. Much more thought and time has been put into Amethyst than Avernus, and that's what genuinely makes Amethyst better. So overall, I think Amethyst is better and succeeds where Avernus fails, because it has a more original theme, the decoration was executed much better, meaning that it was more cohesive and the quality was just overall better and more detailed, and the gameplay is more well synced. Anyways, that's it for today. Please do not send hate to anyone involved with the levels mentioned with this video, it helps no one. If you enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe if you want to see more, as it really helps out the channel. Comment down below which video you want to see next, and yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.